Would somebody pray us in as we get started?
Mother, Father God, want to thank you for this evening, this opportunity for us to feed our souls with some useful information. And if the information is no more than we gathering together with one another, because when there's three or more of us together, you will be in the presence with us. And we thank you for Minister Hotep and for Imhotep for all that he does as far as getting us together with these various programs. I'm thankful to see all the various people that's taking time out of their busy days to participate in this learning session of sacred knowledge. And I hope that we will continue as a people feeding our minds, feeding our souls, because in times that we're living in now, it's so problematic. But we must keep a smile on our lips and joy in our heart, because we have come this far and we have much further to go before our struggle will be over. So in the name of the Most High, we thank you, and Ashe, Amen, Ashe, Amen.
And thank you, brother. Thank you, Minister. All right. So tonight, I want to talk about Ma'at. Just no, that's not Muslim. You know, like Ma'at, is that Muslim? You know, this I could just hear somebody. All right. Ma'at is foundation of our belief, our spirituality, and it goes far back in ancient times, and it is. Of course, I got something for it. We may not go through all this because we don't have a lot of time. But yeah, we're going to talk about Ma'at today, for this evening. And so here she is. Actually, you know, we have this picture, or we had this picture in our sanctuary. Sister Betty donated this. You know, it's farther than I can reach, and I think back in the 80s it was like 600 bucks.
Wow.
It's on a tapestry, and she donated that you know, from her store cultural collection. So we're going to talk about Ma'at. But before we do, you know, I saw some references where people were talking about, you know, Juneteenth and how many days the Declaration of Independence was from Juneteenth. But I remember this is from Anthony Browder's book, The Browder File. How many have that book? You have that book, Shango? Oh, you have too, Tony? Yeah. Anyway, in here, he talks about the number 13. He says, I didn't know this. I don't know how he arrived at this. Let me start at the paragraph above. He says, the founding fathers not only practiced the occult arts, but also planned specific dates to coincide with celestial events. The birthday of the United States, July 4th, 1776, was timed to coincide with the astrological sign of Cancer and the number 13. Africa is ruled by the sun sign Cancer. I'm not sure how he arrived at that, maybe if I get a chance to talk to him, he'll explain it further. But he says, the U.S. was founded on African principles and built by African slaves. July 4th follows 13 days after the sun entered the sign of Cancer during the summer solstice on June 21st, 1776. 13 is a number which has profound numerological significance. There were 13 colonies. The number 13 is represented 8 times on the Great Seal of the United States, and the 13th Amendment to the Constitution freed the slaves. All of these references to the number 13 and numerous others are surely no coincidence. For years, the number 13 has represented the power of transformation and rebirth. The 12th has come to symbolize completion of a cycle, and 13 represents the energy that cycle transcending itself into a higher, often spiritual plane of existence. We see this pattern repeated in the stories of Jesus, the Christ, and his 12 disciples. King Arthur had 12 knights at his round table. The sun exists along with 12 signs of the zodiac. Courtroom proceedings include the judge and 12 men of the jury. I thought that was interesting. And then down here, he talks about how Mars is Tuesday, and it represented the Roman god of war. And that's the day that we vote on, and so those things are accidental. And so I thought I would include, they have nothing, well, they do sort of to do with stories. So I'm always enamored by this comparison, where you have Hor or Heru or Horus. And actually, if you just change the number, the letters here, if you put the U before the R, you get hours, like the hours of the day. All those things are not accidental. Anyway, so this is the Kemetic Commission. This was found in King Tut's tomb. So this wasn't even supposed to be seen. Think about that. And here we see Hor or Heru rising. And what is he holding in his hand? Can anybody tell me what he's holding in his hands? What'd you say, Tony? I can't hear you. You're muted. You're muted. Oh, you okay.
Symbol.
Go ahead. Was that Zarita? Can't see. Did you get cut off? So he's holding life, and this symbol means eternity. So he's holding eternal life in his hands. But this seal has war, these arrows of war, and this olive branch with 13 leaves on it and 13 berries on it. And there's 13 stars in this starboard. This is supposed to represent peace. But like I tell people, I have a Black mama, and in the backyard we had an olive tree, and sometimes she would get us with the olive. She would pick a switch off the olive tree. And then sometimes, if it wasn't big enough, it seemed like she would come in with a whole branch. So for me, olive have never represented peace. So I'm just, but anyway, these are the symbols that are the basis. So he was right. This country is built on the labor of African people, but not only that, the spirituality and the genius as they try to deny our humanity, our integrity, belittle our integrity, and our contribution to the world. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you know, in addition to what you're saying,
Mhm.
all the primary founders were Freemasons. So
Yeah.
a lot of the information that they brought forth was coming out of Masonry. And even the city of Washington, D.C., in essence, is laid out in such a way like that. And also, if you get a chance to get to D.C., Tony Browder does a tour of the city.
Does he
And
still do that? Does
he still does that. And I went on that tour some years back. And it's fascinating how the city is overlapping with Masonry and within the Kemetic spirits and whatnot. It's just fantastic. That's all.
Yeah, but you have no history and you have no spirituality unless we give it to you. You know,
How about that?
Isn't that something?
Okay.
So here we're going to talk about Ma'at, the heart balancing on the scale of Ma'at against the feather of truth. In this container, it represents the Ib and the Ka, the spirit. And then you have that feather, that ostrich feather. Dr. Obotashaka talks about how the ostrich feather, how it was chosen because of the way that the ostrich moves on the plane, moves in like a circular pattern. And that has something to do with the reason why the ostrich feather is chosen to be on the scale. So the so-called 10 Commandments, as you know, are derived from Cecil B. DeMille's and Charlton Heston in the movie. No, just kidding. Yeah. So this is where your 10 Commandments comes from. Your 10 Commandments. And you know what? When they show it like this, if you look on top of Amun-Ra's head, he's got plumes that look like this. So these Declaration of Innocence, Budge called them the negative confessions because they start out, I have not done thus and so. So there's 42 of them, and I'm sure everyone can read this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and just in case you want a English translation, this is what it's saying. I have not committed sin. I've not committed robbery with violence, not stolen. You know, these are just basic things that you need in a society for the society to be just and balanced. You know, I've not swindled offering. I've not stolen from God. I've not told lies. You know, I've not closed my ears to truth. I've not committed adultery. I've not made anyone cry. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I've not felt sorry without reason. Sometimes, you know, we feel sorry for ourselves and, you know, there's really no reason, you know, if we examine it, you know, and so these are things that people are saying when they come before the hall of Amenti, the hall of two truths. I've not assaulted anyone. I am not deceitful. I've not been an eavesdropper. You know, I've not falsely accused anyone. Can't go through them all. Have not seduced anyone's wife. I've not polluted myself. I've not terrorized anyone. I have not disobeyed the law. I've not been excessively angry. I've not cursed God. Not behaved with violent speaking. I've not caused disruption of peace. So these are things people are, I've not worked evil. I've not placed myself on a pedestal. I've not stolen things which belong to God. I'm not taking food from a child. So those are the declarations of innocence. And this is how you would write it. Now I want you to pay attention to this particular glyph here, because we're going to talk about it. Just seems, I don't know, how would you describe it? Anyone? Come on, I just don't.
I'm sorry, I blinked. Which glyph were you referring to?
Okay, this glyph here, can you see this first one at the top? Yes. Anyone? Go ahead. Is that Minister Rana that's talking?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
It reminds me of a block to sand something down.
Mm-hmm. Could be interpreted like that. Yep. Anyone else? There's, don't be afraid to. I've dealt with this for a very long time. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Okay, so.
Pardon me, Minister Imhotep. The question you're asking, I'm trying to get clarity. Are you saying all of the pictures together, or were you just talking about one part of the photo?
Thank you for asking that question. Just this first glyph here, the first one at the top. That one there.
I would say level or
Okay.
balance.
Okay.
Level.
Okay. That's very good. Very good.
It also looks like the seat that the priest, the high priest are on, that the high seat sits on.
All right, we're getting
The other
getting
thing
warmer.
would be elevation, elevated, because it's up, it's not on anything.
Well, you guys are.
Thing.
I'm telling you, you guys are on it. I'm just enamored at how heavy you all are. I didn't arrive at that when I first saw it. Anyone else before I move on?
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what it is. The only thing I see is the shape of it, and it's rectangular shape. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yes, that's good. That's a good. I just sent myself these. Can you guys see these pictures? I just sent myself these two pictures based on what Brother Shango Minister Shango was saying. Okay, there's George Washington. And see, when the Masons do all their things, some of you may be Masons on here today. I'm not. Their regalia comes from us.
Right.
Wasn't Benjamin Banneker the one? He's a Mason? I thought Benjamin Banneker laid out Washington, D.C.
Benjamin Banneker did, and the way that story goes is there was a man by the name of Lafont. He was from France, and he was a Mason, and he had, come to the United States to help them lay out. He was helping Brother Masons lay out the city, and they made him mad or something. Some kind of argument happened. Benjamin Banneker was there. Benjamin Banneker was recognized as a very heavy person at the time, reason why he was there. And so this guy LaFont, isn't there like a LaFont Plaza in DC right now? Is it? Because that's one of the on the metro, isn't it?
Yes.
So LaFont, you know, hey, au revoir, I'm out, and Benjamin Banneker said, hey, did you guys like the plans? And people were looking around stupid, and yeah, we liked them. He says, well, I think I can reproduce them. He had a photographic memory.
He did.
So he came, he came back in 4 days, and that's why you have the plans. That's why you have Washington, D.C. laid out like it is.
But there's an irony there. People remember LaFont, and this is LaFont Plaza, but yet and still, there is no monument in DC to Benjamin Banneker.
Nope, not at all.
Now,
Well, that's not
that one out.
surprising. That's not surprising.
God, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody?
Yeah.
Would anybody?
Can anybody say it to why? Yeah. He was brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, really?
He only saw those drawings once too. The ones that the guy had. He only
Right.
saw them a couple of times.
He was just a brilliant guy, and
Yes,
he
was.
had this almanac. I mean, he was an astronomer. He had this almanac, and the almanac was a staple in the colonies. It was kept right next to the Bible. He made a clock out of wood that kept time for 47 years. Benjamin Banneker, I'm glad you brought it up, Judy. That Benjamin Banneker, whoa.
He was bad. He was bad.
Yeah.
And his legacy lives on with his watches too, because they still have his watches, and each watch, any watch that you get from him has wood. Something of it is made of wood. And they're not that expensive either. But Benjamin, and he also had a lot to do with how you irrigate as well. He had an irrigation plan system that was just the bomb.
There are some people that are just brilliant, and that's just it. You can't explain it. You don't know why. You don't know why they're like that. But there's just some people that are just brilliant, and he was one of them. And but they're not going to give him any credit, and this is what you should expect. You should expect not to get any credit. Okay, this is all right. This is it. If you do, it's very unusual. I mean, there are a lot of things in medicine. I mean, if you talked about, we could do a thing. I know I'm getting off a topic, but we could do a thing on George Washington Carver that would take up 2 hours, and we would not repeat anything that we've said. There are some people that are just brilliant people. I said George Washington Carver could pick up the earth and mold it and make 5 or 6 different colors with it. I don't know how true this is, but Dick Gregory used to say that because Carver worked with Henry Ford, and even and so Henry Ford, the assembly line and the power plant, the factory was called the plant. Dick Gregory said it was called the plant because of George Washington Carver.
Right.
Right. I've heard that.
I don't want to say that I don't have a reference other than Dick Gregory. I can't okay, hey, you guys go to this, but so that's why I'm prefacing that. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I heard that before too.
I've
He
heard
tried
that.
to get him to come to work in the plant for him, but he didn't want to leave the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked in the George Washington Carver Museum in Tuskegee. And we had all kind of bulletins and all, all kind of things, films, but he was just so, he was so in tune with nature. And he said, as many say, but if you want to know God, study nature. So he talked to the plants. He has a lot of different books and poems and different things that he was able to, communicate with the plants. And
He talked to the plants, but they talked back to him.
yeah,
And
well, they
so they had robbed the soil. I know this is really off the topic. We're supposed to be talking about Mott, but it is on the top.
That's on my.
They had robbed the soil by planting cotton and tobacco.
Right.
And so the soil was dead. And so they knew, again, okay, they knew this guy, George Washington Carver. They knew this guy was heavy, they knew this guy was brilliant. So they came to him. And so he talked to the plants and they told him, plant legumes.
Well,
So
also
those
he said, rotate the crops. He said, what you have to do is don't keep depleting your soil, rotate your crops. They went out, they had the movable school, which went out. If the farmers can't come to the school, we'll come out to the farmers. So that was the whole thought. But what I was going to say, Minister Imhotep, is that what's really phenomenal about where we are with waking up into knowledge of cosmology and the universe and knowing more things about us, all of this is just nothing that we all can't do. He was able to, he had become in touch with his God self. But we all have the ability, if we were to unplug from all the technology and the TV and all the stuff that distracts us, we could do these things too.
Well, that's true. And thank you for adding that, the rotation of the crops. Go ahead, Cedric, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in there, you had spoke about Henry Ford and George Washington Carver.
Yes.
As I understand it, he had an idea about biofuels, the creation of biofuels.
Yes.
That's, I just wanted to add that.
So he had developed a way to make him and Ford, they developed a way to, instead of using like oil, like gasoline, they had found a way to do it with soy.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And that's something that's on the back burner. That's something in some secret place that, after they've used up all the oil, then they'll bring that up. Go ahead, Shango. Go ahead.
But also he had somewhat, to me, a tragic life from a standpoint of he was known to have had a very high-pitched voice, and there was a reason for that.
I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know it. That was another thing that Dick Gregory, and I'm not disparaging Dick Gregory.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not.
It was not true. He was castrated. That's supposed to be actually a fact. He was castrated.
I've heard that.
At an early age.
That's where I was going. Yes.
Yeah, and they used to have his voice in the Carver Museum. When you go in, there was a phone that you could pick up and hear him recite his favorite poem, Equipment, and it was in his voice. And yeah, there's some footage of him. If you go on YouTube, you can see live footage of him moving around and walking, and it's pretty phenomenal.
Okay, thank you all. I've really gone afield, but that's again just the brilliance of the people that are here. So we're always talking about the red, white, and blue, but our ancestors always had that. So here's Moot, and what is she carrying? She's carrying
the symbol for eternity.
She's carrying the symbol for eternity. Yeah.
You know what? I was gonna say seed, but a seed is sort of like a representation of eternity. Because the seed continues to, it grows into something and that something grows, I don't know. Never mind.
Okay, pull up. All right. We're going too far. All right. So this glyph, this is how we got started. That glyph there. So here's a definition of Ma'at. Several definitions. It's truth, it's justice, it's law, it's integrity, it's up. Okay, remember that. Remember this word, uprightness. Uprightness. It's correctness, righteousness, steadfast, unalterable, reality, order, stability, continuity, equilibrium, balance, measurement, reciprocity. And then Ma or Ma'a, Dr. Sebi's wife, who helped him come up with all those different recipes for health. His wife's name is Ma'a. It means right, genuine, true, upright, righteous. And then you have things that are similar in other traditions. So the Tao, Dharma represent Ma'at, and even Greek goddesses are derived from Ma'at. And then there's that glyph again. I want everybody to remember that glyph. And again, there's various ways to write it. Various ways to write Ma'at.
So Minister Imhotep, are you saying that glyph, that rectangle shape, that's the symbol for Ma'at?
That's part of
It.
That's part of how you write it. So let me go back. So this is how you would write Ma'at, the whole thing. Okay. This loaf here is a T. This symbol represents Ma'at, but this is how you would speak it, Ma'at. But this first symbol is very important, and that's what I keep coming back to. Okay.
Minister
And
Imhotep, what about the 3 at the end, the 3 checks at the end?
Okay, that gives the emphasis on it when you see those.
Not plural. I was thinking plural. That does not mean plural because there's only one Ma'at, right?
Yeah, that it doesn't. But in the judgment scene, there's 2 Ma'ats. One represents the terrestrial, and one represents the celestial. So you can barely see it here, but there's actually 2 Ma'ats on this scale. And so Ani is the one that has said all those things. I've not done this, I've not done that. And his heart, his essence is weighed against the feather of truth. Jehudi is recording it. Hor or Heru is leading him. And a lot of times you say, well, how do I know? How can I tell the netters? They're usually carrying either an ankh in their hand, or they're carrying the waz staff. The waz staff is not represented here, but the waz staff is actually part of the symbol that says Wosek. And then, okay, he's weighed out. He's said everything, and then here he's brought before Wasir or Osar or Osiris, and his sisters have his back. Aset and Nebhet. Aset, you can always tell it's her. He has like a throne on top of her head. And the way you write Wasir, see, it's here, is that throne, that eye and the throne. Here it is again. So, I forgot who told me about this. I think I was listening to Jordan Maxwell, and he was talking about this thing called stellar theology, Masonic astronomy. And there's several versions of this book. It's all written by the same guy, Robert Hewitt Brown. And stellar theology and Masonic astronomy.
What is it basically about? I mean, the title already obvious, but is it dealing with the stars obvious?
Yes. So it's a book that has questions in it, questions and answers all throughout the book. And on page 126 and 127, somebody's asking, it's probably a Mason, this is a Masonic book, whence was the square as a Masonic emblem derived? And then he goes on and says that it dates back to the ancient Egyptians, in whose solemn processions the solstices carry the cubit of justice, by which perpendiculars, right angles, and squares might be laid out, its form being the arm, that of one arm of a square. So that's that symbol that I was asking you to focus on. That's that symbol. It's the one arm of square. So, you know, there's 4 parts to a square, so it's 1/4. You know, and it's cut. It's not just a rectangle. It's cut to a 45-degree angle, 1/2 of a right angle. The square was in Egypt an emblem of justice, because being a right angle, it deviated in no respect from a true horizontal joined to a perfect perpendicular. You know, it gets into all this stuff. And then, okay, the way of the just is right, is uprightness. Thou most upright dost weigh the path of the just. Isaiah 26:27. He that walketh uprightly, probably some of you have heard that. Psalms 15:2. The admonition to walk uprightly before God and man. This all comes from so what is perpendicular? I'm going to get into some math, but okay. This is a perpendicular lines. So when you look at what he's sitting on, so this is what Wasir, Osiris, is sitting on. He's sitting on a square. He's seated on the square, and this platform is mocked. So he's totally joined in my. I talked about the Waz staff earlier. This is the Waz staff. So, whoops, I mean to. Let's go back. The Neteru, the way you can tell them from just an ordinary person is that they're carrying this staff. And then what do they say in the Bible? Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Yep.
Okay. And I started to put this in this, but I didn't want to defame this study of sacred scriptures. But the Confederate flag is based upon this X that Wasir is wearing. And people in Africa, the Zulu in South Africa, the Tutsi in Rwanda, and here is a Commission, a Kemetic person. They're all wearing it. So even the Confederate flag comes from us. But back to the perpendiculars. He's seated on the square. That square there, that's what he's seated on. All right, and just to show you, so this is Ra. And he's this symbol here is Pet. Represents the sky. And
Pardon me,
the-
which symbol? Could you point back to the one that represents what you just said? The sky.
so this one that the boat is seated on,
Okay.
see that represents the sky. And he's in his boat of Ra, and these oars are Hu and Sia, authoritative utterance and exceptional insight. But on top of that, he's seated on the glyph for Mot. So when the sun is traveling in the sky, when we see the sun traveling in the sky, the sun, the sun just don't go willy-nilly. You know, if the sun deviated in any way, shape, or form, there wouldn't be like an Earth, or there wouldn't be life on Earth. You can calculate 10,000 years from now what time the sun is going to rise and set. That's how regular it is. Because what? He's seated on Mount. There's that judgment scene again. I don't know why I put it in. So here, oh, I know, I put it in because I wanted you to look at the upper. So whoever that is, could you mute yourself? All right. So here you see he's making adoration to these Neteru here. So you get, here's a close-up of it. But what he's referencing, what he's looking at is cognitive will, emotion, reason, heavenly, earthly, witness, feeling, speech, senses, comprehension. You know, so when people say gods and goddesses and all, no, they're the essence of creation. And that's why when I send an email out to you or a text, I reference you as Neteru. That's the plural, because that's what you are. You are essences of the divine.
Minister Imhotep, may I make an observation? I don't know that I could.
You want to go back to that picture? You want to go back to that picture?
Mm-hmm, please. That's why I was in a class and this person was teaching the Bible, and you know, from their perspective, but they were saying that the Bible, you know, basically is a story about you. All those books, all those different things that are happening are different states of mind that you go through. And so I'm thinking about, and that's it. I accepted that. It made a lot of sense to me. But also when I look at this picture, and I'm thinking that this is a picture of you, you know, all the different, when you know the knowledge of self, when it says know thyself, that all of these are aspects of you, of us, or each of us. It can be.
One of the, thank you for that. One of the indigenous wisdom keepers, you know, they don't necessarily reveal themselves, but one of the ones that revealed himself, his name was Hakim Awiyan. And he taught that, you know, during the time of the construction of Tef Nudi, which a lot of people now are calling Hor Im Akhet, we know it more famously as the Sphinx, or when the Perneters or the pyramids were built. It was during a time when people had access to, instead of 5 senses, 360 senses. And so this is a small representation of that.
You
See,
know, also, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
I was gonna add to that, that's confirmation for me, because as I'm listening to your teachings tonight, and what you're sharing, I was thinking, wow, this just goes to show how everything, you know, the numbers, everything is mathematical. This universe is so mathematical, and that, you know, everything they were measuring for the Dogons to be aware and to understand things that were going to happen, thousands and thousands, Sirius B, and knowing what they knew so many years ahead is because they were using mathematics. They had understood divine mathematics. And when you said that all of these, that our senses are 360 degrees, that's another mathematical equation that shows that that's a complete circle. That's mathematically, that's everything.
yes, yes, yes. Dr. Obinga introduced this. He said there's 25 dimensions of Ma'at. And I remember when he introduced this in Oakland. It was at McClymonds High School. It was on a Sunday. And back then, when he first came to the United States, it was hard to understand him. I mean, really, if you closed your eyes and listened to him talk, you would think you were listening to Jacques Cousteau, you know. But as he spent more time, you know, he speaks like, I don't know, 10 languages. You know, he can write and speak 10 languages. He became more clear, and he drew this out on the board. And then Dr. Asa Hilliard made like a matrix for it. And then what we did, we'll say we sent this matrix to Brother Court Thomas, and he put this together for us. So there's spheres of reality, the sacred, the cosmos, the state, the society, the human, and then you have the religious, you have the cosmic, you have the political, you have the social, you have the anthropological, and these are all the things. Theology, it covers theology, it covers cosmic myths, divine monarchy, the clergy, religious anthropology, cosmic dimensions of the Neteru, cosmology, the glory of the Per-Ah as the sun. So the Per-Ah, what is the Per-Ah?
Pharaoh?
Yes. So Pharaoh is a word, I'm not sure where it comes from. It might be Hebrew, but say again. Say again.
Nesut.
Yes. Yes. But in general, Per-Ah, great house. So when they talk about the Pharaoh, that's what they mean, the Per-Ah. Cosmic dimensions of social order, cosmic life, immortality. You know, it just covered, each city had a Neter. You know, seasons. This is a symbol that's very ancient. It's in a lot of cultures. And this is a window in a church in Ethiopia that goes back millennia. Administration, education, community integration, ethics, you know, covers everything, family, sociology. So Dr. Karinga wrote a book and he signed it for me called Mott. You guys mind if we go over a little bit? It's 6:55. Can we go to 7:10? Is that fine with everybody?
I'm retired. I'm retired, so go right ahead.
Yes, yes, please do.
You mean 7:10 on Friday, right?
It's this is 7:10. No, no, I just got what you're saying. No, I mean 10 after
Good.
10
Yes, yes.
in the ATL. So, these are, he really does a comprehensive job. I just thought I'd put the, some of the table of contents here.
This is of what book? Table of contents? I forgot. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Table
My,
of contents.
Bring us book on my app.
my,
This
Okay,
is-
yes, okay,
this-
I'm sorry.
This is, yes, this book here.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not going to read all the table, but it's I'm showing you all this to say that this is a very fantastic book.
That is
When
a
you
lot.
when you're studying the Medu Neter, you'll learn about transliteration and translation. That's part of getting the meaning of what you're trying to decipher. We don't have time to go into that tonight. But one of the things in his discourse, he's talking about Kun Ampu. He urges leaders to speak Ma'at, to do Ma'at, for it is mighty, it is great, it endures, its worth is tested, and it leads one to blessedness. This is a transliteration. That's what this represents. And then, let's see, move this up here so I can see it. So he says the universal, this is from Obenga. He says the universal domain of Ma'at is the totality of ordered existence and represents things in harmony and in place. Number two, the political domain in which Ma'at is justice in opposition to injustice. I was driving to this morning and I was listening to Amy Goodman. You ever listen to Democracy Now? She really puts out a lot of good things. And she was talking about how evil, she didn't use that word, but it just how evil J. Edgar Hoover was.
yes.
With respect to Martin Luther King, and they were trying to get him to commit suicide. They didn't want him to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So I don't want to go into all that, but it's the political domain in which Ma'at is justice and opposition to injustice. The social domain in which the focus is on right relations and duty in the context of community. The personal domain in which following the rules and principles of Ma'at is to realize concretely the universal order in oneself, to live in harmony with the ordered whole. And then, so Brother Kilimanjaro, I've been talking to him just kind of like on, in social media. I've never met him. I kind of found out about this book, for those of you that remember Brother he's Dr. Ushaka Craig, had the Nile Valley Produce Market for Wose, him and Makalisi for a few years back. Anyway, he's working with this brother, and so he wrote this book on Ma'at, and Minister Rana had referenced it in one of her messages, and I know that Sister Pamela Williams is really, she's really loves this book, This is what's on the back of the book.
Well, Minister Amadi, Minister Imhotep, could you go back a second? May I take that picture?
This one?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm just kind of rushing through this, but the object, when you speak, and particularly at the judgment time, for you to be Ma Karu, to be true of voice and justified. Be Ma Karu, true of voice. And then here's a passage, a comedic passage. I came forth, am Amen, the hidden one, pure of heart, within the pure of body. I live through my words. So this is the glyph for the heart. I usually use ib, but it's also written ab. So here it is again. But the opposite of Ma'at is Isfet, meaning injustice, chaos, violence, to do evil. And this is how you would write it. And it means disorder, acts of uncreation, lying, opposition. And here we see this cat cutting the apet, which is representative of chaos. So it's telling us don't steal, don't distort speech, don't murder, don't have sex with another's spouse, don't damage yourself with lies, do not argue without reason. That's just some of the things that are representative of Isfet.
Yeah.
Pardon me, the Imhotep again. Pardon me. I have another question to ask you. When you talk about, you mentioned the law when you said Isfet is the opposite of Ma'at.
Yes.
So I was thinking as I was looking at all this, and my observation that I was having with myself, my revelation was, with everything being mathematical, do you think that all of these different, what do you call these words, this stretch of words, these symbols?
These
written-
glyphs.
Yeah, the glyphs, the symbol, and it's also written out in words, but also do you think it's a mathematical equation to them? Because,
I'm sure there is, but I'm not prepared to talk about that this evening, but I would say yes, because
was this the question? Yeah.
look at the word Ma'at. That's where you get the word math from. Yeah, there's a mathematical part to that. That's a very good observation. Thank you for asking that question. So this
And
is
the only reason I asked that about the laws of, opposites, because I was thinking when you said Isfet is the opposite of Ma'at, that's also dealing with the universal law of opposites.
Yeah.
And then maybe that would be mathematically an equation as well, opposites.
Well, I just know that Ma'at is a part of Ma'at's definition is mathematics.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the brother's book again. To see how thick it is, it's like 700 pages. It's huge. And here is Dr. Karenga's book, and he's talking about the Ib. So when they talk about the Ib, that's being weighed on the against the feather of truth. It means your heart and your mind. It's not like some abstract, just a pumping engine, and here he's quoting Ptahhotep, says, a man's heart is his life, property, and health. You know, it is my heart that made me do this as it guided me. It was, for me, an excellent instructor. I did not disobey what it said, for I feared rejecting its guidance. I flourished greatly because of it. I excelled through what it caused me to do. I became excellent by its guidance. It is true what people say. It is a divine presence in everybody. Blessed is one whom it guides to the good way to act. So just some Ma'at things, sisters and brothers. Here's some Ma'at, and you know, there's 42, Westerners call them nomes or provinces, but they're really, the Kemetic word is Sipat, or tribes. They're actually tribes. And they were all through. Here's one that has, so let me explain. So this is the Nile. So the lower Nile is in the north. The upper Nile is in the south. Can anybody guess why that would be?
Because
The water flows that way.
the mountains are in the south.
Say, okay, Judy, you say yours, and then Shango. What did you say, Judy?
I was saying because the water flows in that direction, flows in the direction of north. I mean, it's flowing upward, so that's
It's coming from the south.
right.
Okay. What were you saying?
The mountains are in the south.
So the Missouri mountain range,
Yeah,
and yeah, where it forms.
right.
Uh-huh.
Are
So
you asking,
go ahead.
are you asking why is it called upper?
Yes.
Because it's the source of African people and the source of the Nile, and the origin is there.
All right. All right. You know, there's two Niles. Can anybody tell me where the two Niles are?
You'd be somewhere in Ethiopia. Well, the
Oh,
blue.
so there's
blue
the white,
Nile
There's-
Uganda.
there's the white Nile in
and
Uganda,
blue
and then there's the blue Nile.
Nile.
And they join together in Khartoum, and they flow all the way out to the Mediterranean Sea. Yep. All right. Ashe. We just wanted to, it was an overview on Ma'at. Each little page could be a section in and of itself.
Right.
But I hope that was okay for us tonight.
That was very good presentation.
Very, very deep, and yes,
Okay.
what I needed.
Appetizer.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, you know, we just have to go over this a lot. You know, it's one of the things that we don't do in the service that I want us to start doing, and that is to light the candles of the Nguzo Saba. Because okay, we stopped doing it in Zoom, but I would like for us to get back to that. And the reason why is because that's the only way that you're going to learn Umoja, Kujichagulia, Ujima, Ujamaa, Nia, Kuumba, Imani. Umoja. We say this in the affirmation: we shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kujichagulia, self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. First time I heard Ujima, I was watching Sanford & Son. Lamont came home and said, "Pop, we need to get some Ujima in this house. And you know, and the whole episode was focusing on that. We shall make our collective vocation, the building and developing our community and the rest of it. You know, all of those things, we need to repeat them at least once a week. You know, Imani, faith. We shall believe with all our hearts in our God, our people, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. You know, that somehow, you know, despite J. Edgar Hoover, despite George Bush, despite all of these people that are representations of Itzfet, despite all of that, we can believe with all our hearts. What do we say about the heart? We believe with all our hearts in our God, our people. I know as people are older, we look at our youth, they got their pants, you know, down around the bottom, you know, they're doing, you know, and we're just like, is there any hope? You know, but Imani tells us we shall believe with all our hearts in our God, our people, and in the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Kuumba, creativity. You know, I like, I have a confession to make. Sometimes I'll just go on YouTube and watch Stephen Curry highlights. You know, because he has kuumba. He has creativity. I've been watching basketball since I was 10. And I've never seen anybody play like I mean, I've seen Earl the Pearl Monroe, you know, Magic, but I've just never seen anybody shoot like that and dribble like that and pass like that, you know. So Kuumba says that we shall do as much as we can in any way we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. That's Kuumba. Nia, purpose. I have a niece named Nia. You know, my son named my wife's sister's first child. They said, what should we name her? And he said, Nia. Nia, purpose. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. We shall build and maintain our own businesses and together. We have to deal with those all the time. We have to keep them in mind all the time. Now, all right, I didn't come here to preach to you today. All right, so we are going to meet again on the, when is the next time? Looks like the 19th. I think the 19th is, isn't that when Sirius, isn't that the helical rising of Sirius? Isn't that, doesn't it take place on July 19th? I'm almost sure that's true. All right, I see a lot of blank stares. So I guess we should end now. I'm glad that you all could join us, even if you just showed your picture. I'm glad that you came.
Keep preaching.
Keep preaching.
Yes. Excellent again, Baba. Thank you.
All right. Give thanks. You know, I've been appearing lately on Philippe Matthews' show, and I was on Tuesday before last. It was Tuesday before last. I got like 2,300 views on that.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. You know,
You were excellent. I saw you.
But this next time, because Judy had mentioned the Dogon. That's what Philippe asked me to talk about. So I'm gonna be talking about the Dogon. I have a hard time advertising myself. I'm surprised I'm even saying it now, but I'm gonna send the advertisement to Sugar D or Minister Ahmadi or somebody like that. And then I won't feel so bad if somebody else sends it out. But I'm on Tuesday at 11 on Philippe's show, but it goes right out afterwards, and so you can see it on YouTube. All right, I've run my mouth long enough. I just want to say, as I'm looking at Tony, is it hot there? How was it? How was the weather today?
She didn't leave the house.
You don't have to elaborate. She didn't elaborate. Now, how about Virginia? Is it like that too in Virginia? Sugar D? No.
No,
How about,
no.
How about Atlanta, Judy?
No, I mean, it's in the 90s. We have rain and it cools off, but I don't know. I'm in and out of the air condition so much I can't tell.
All right. I just wanted to check on it. You know, when I see things on the news, sometimes I'll send notes to you guys. Hey, you all right? Did you get caught in that flood? You know, so it looks so traumatic on the news. So,
But what's so funny, Minister Imhotep, I mean, I know you send those messages to hydrate, but when I talk to people out on the West Coast, it seems like you all have hotter weather than Atlanta. So but it's a different kind of hot, you say.
It's a dry heat. So last Sunday it was 108. You know, but it was a dry heat. But when you go, like when I would go to DC, it would be like 98 degrees and it'd be 90% humidity.
Yep.
You know, and so that was a different kind of heat.
Yep.
I'm looking at the temperature right now here in Atlanta, it's 80 degrees.
See, that's and it's 10 o'clock at night. All right. So it gets hot out there.
Yeah,
Yes,
and it's all relative too. What some people think is hot.
Yeah.
Darnisha, what is it like? I know you're not there yet, but what is it like in Ghana like now?
Oh, it's always hot in Ghana. I have no doubt that it will be hot. It's just it'll be hot and wet or hot and dry, but pretty much always hot. So unlike what I experienced today, I turned on the space heater at my shop. I'm on the shady side of the street on 13th. So never direct sun. It's always really like in the winter was really cold. And if summer ever comes, I guess I'll be happy because it'll be cool in there. But today it was freezing. I turned on the space heater.
Wow.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the Bay Area. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Wow. Oh yeah, I have been to San Francisco and
Welcome to the Bay.
yeah, I came to San Francisco and my teeth were chattering. It was in August and my cousin had a Miata and we were going up the crookedest street and I was like, oh my God. Never thought I'd be cold.
Lombard Street.
Lombard Street.
Lombard Streat, yeah. Yeah.
I was freezing.
Well, you know what Mark Twain says? The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Yep.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
September. It'll be summertime in September.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, hey, love to each and every one. I'm glad you could join us today. So hopefully something made sense. If it didn't, contact me directly and we'll chat about it. We're going to meet next time. Any suggestions what we should focus on? I may not take your suggestions. I'm just curious. What would you like to know? What would you like to discuss?
Can we think about it too and text you or email me?
And send me later? Sure.
Suggestions, yeah.
Sure you can. Hey, I want to just say, I saw Cleo today in the hospital. She had surgery yesterday and everything went fine. And,
good.
and so she appreciates you all's our prayers and keeping her in the light. She has remarkably positive outlook, and we look forward to her full recovery, because she's a strong force in this community. All right.
Well, how's your wife doing?
She's good.
Good.
You know, Shango, she has this thing, it's called Caring Bridge, that she updates, that you could go and visit. I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you. And
Thank you.
yeah, she stopped her. So usually on Thursdays is a chemo treatment,
Right.
but last Thursday was her last chemo treatment.
Excellent.
So that's good. And so we have a month's break before we go into some other Babylon.
Right.
But you know, it's all part of the healing process. Yeah, I still use those Rasta terms. You know, Babylon is a euphemism for an unjust system.
Yep.
Let me just, so, all right.
You know, next year, Bob Marley got this movie coming out. I sent it to you.
Bob Marley has a movie
Yeah.
coming out?
Yeah. I think I sent it to you.
I don't think so, but I would like to see it. Try sending it again.
Okay. Okay.
Can somebody pray us out? Anybody with anyone that feels moved or led can pray us out.
Oh, Amen Ra Most High. We give you thanks and praises for life, for health, for strength. We thank you for each one on this Zoom call. We thank you for our likeness, for our love, for our togetherness. We thank you for the leadership and the brilliance of our Minister Imhotep. We thank you for the contributions from the different members. We ask blessings on those of our community that need a special touch, a special healing. Our sister Doris, our brother Malik, our sister Keisha, our sister, all of us that need a touch of your awesomeness. We thank you for, again, this place, these places called Wosay. We thank you for the struggles that we have been through and the mountains that we will still must climb. In the name of the Most High, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that prayer. And you don't have to be a minister to pray. And I love it when other people pray. So a very special night. Thank you all for coming. Life, prosperity, and health. Live up.